Saint Stephen, can you hear me? Though it seems I caught you early. Yes, it's late, but it's still early, as it's now another day. If my wishing sounds like bitching, you can change the nomenclature. The better angels of my nature have all run off and flown away. And tonight they play the blues down in Chicago. But I bet you'll never guess the reason why. So if you have a song I can borrow, I'll gladly sing it till the day I die. Are we living or are we dying? These days the difference is beyond me. Looking out for handsome Johnny, wishing he was still around. You were heroes in your past lives, both martyrs to your Savior. So let him in on good behavior. Now his paradise is found. Like his easy top playing Jesus left Chicago. I see him and some Johnny as they wave bye-bye. They left us with some songs we can borrow. We'll gladly sing them till the day we die. If you're still there, thanks for listening. One more thing before I forget. Feels like death is at my doorstep, or some other impending doom. I'm not impatient, I'm complacent. So just answer me in honest. Is this the heaven I was promised? Just another hotel room. And I know that love goes hand in hand with sorrow. And it takes a flood to make the white dove fly. So I'll write myself a song to sing tomorrow. I'll gladly sing it till the day I die. I'll gladly sing it till the day I die. Saint Stephen, can you hear me? Saint Stephen, can you? Saint Stephen, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
All right, at long last, Jon Latham here on the East Nashville podcast. Welcome.
Sorry it took so long. I was walking here.
This is a big full circle moment for me.
Really?
I'm going to tell you why. I moved here going on 12 years ago.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's the best choice of my life.
Same here. 12 years as of this past May.
You got to be kidding me. Man, you established yourself so quickly here because when I moved to town, you were one of the first people I looked up to.
Really?
Absolutely.
No, like, so it was 2013 for you?
It was November 1st, 2013 when I first moved here.
Man, it feels like a weird timeline to me because it felt like we'll get to the establishment part, I guess, because it just seems like that took a while to happen. But
yeah, well, I was aware of you far before you were aware of me.
Wow. Okay.
Just one of those fans, just in the back, being like, oh, he's a dreamboat.
Wow.
Yeah.
And to think we could have been a couple.
I know.
If you'd just spoken up.
Now you got that damn wife.
Yep.
It'll never happen for us.
That smoking hot wife.
Yeah, she's great.
She's going to be so pissed that I said that on mic.
I don't know. It seems like a good compliment.
What you don't see is the rolling eyes over here.
Yes.
Do I know her or do I know her?
Yep. So, yeah. It was Derek Hoke and Alan Thompson were kind of the two guys that when I first started visiting East Nashville in early 2013, those were the guys who just sealed the deal for me.
Yeah.
That it was like seeing Derek do $2 Tuesday with Kenny Vaughn sitting in, and then it's Cobra now, but it was Fubar then.
Yep.
Seeing Alan Thompson on that little corner stage playing
right as you walked in the door.
Yeah, playing to nobody, just gorgeous song after gorgeous song.
Man, it's so like I got to be honest, like my connection to East Nashville was a true trial by fire. Like I knew of Derek Hoke only because shortly after I moved here, I was doing more accompaniment type stuff for my friend Peyton Parker, who's still in town, still singing all that. And we had both been doing it together in Georgia. And coming into town, like when I first moved here, I didn't really have any song that was particularly my own. What I was writing with the idea that she was going to be singing those songs. But I remember going to go see there was a Buddy Miller and Friends show that was announced, kind of a last minute thing at the OG Basement, and I'm a huge Buddy Miller fan. And I went and Hoke opened just solo.
Cool.
And that was at the time too where Hoke was wearing like the cowboy studs, that kick ass hat and like a really nice pressed suit and just looking like $1 million and singing with that voice. And I was just like, man, what's his deal? And everybody was saying he was an East Nashville guy, and I was like, man. And then of course, like just as a music fan, you know that if you know anything about East Nashville, it's like Todd Snyder, Elizabeth Cook, that crew.
Yeah.
And so I was in such awe of East Nashville that I avoided it out of fear. When I started playing, I started with open mics and stuff, mainly on the west side of town. Like the first place I played, your friend Luke knows this, like was Jed's Sports Bar on 28th Avenue, which is right next door to where the local is now.
Yeah. Okay.
As a matter of fact, when the local opened, it opened under the name of the Country, and it was owned by the same folks who owned Jed's. Well, upstairs at Jed's, one of the local radio stations, Lightning 100, sponsored an open mic. So I started there. And then on top of that, too, Peyton was getting offers to do some rounds and stuff at Belcourt Taps out there in Hillsborough Village. And that's where, as I was starting to write my first little batch of songs, that was my foothold.
Really?
Was that I would go and do, like I played around with her. She invited me to do a round with her. And I played my songs there, and the bartender there, who was also doing the booking, just really liked me. And I became that guy that would get the call, like if somebody called out of a round or somebody canceled their round and they just had dead time. It's like, just come up and sing. Just either get around together or you've got enough stuff where you could do like, 45 minutes of your stuff and you'd be good. So that became the thing. Around that time, one of those nights at Jed's, to paint the full picture, and I know this is, in true Latham fashion, I know this is like a long story, but I promise it's getting to East Nashville.
It's okay. We had Darren Bradbury.
Awesome. Well, funny you should mention it. That's where kind of the story is going. One night at Jed's, the Jed's open mic was a real mixed bag of different types of music, as most open mics are. But particularly with this one, because it was sponsored by the radio station, I think there were a lot more stars in the eyes of folks getting up there. And so anybody who was coming to town, if they heard about that one, knowing that the radio station was involved in such, like, it filled up quick. And you always had, like, just this mixed bag of folks. Some of them were much younger than me. I'm a late bloomer. I moved here when I was 30. And I'd not really written a serious song for myself until I got here. And so with that mixed bag, it was kind of tough to kind of find my tribe, so to speak. Like, there were great folks at that open mic, but up until this one night when this dude came in with like cut off jean shorts, flip flops, he looked like he'd just woken up.
Yeah.
And he got up there and he very nervously was looking around and it was Darren Bradbury.
Yeah.
And he did his song True Love that night. He did two songs. He did True Love and a song called Sophie's Got a Brand New Apartment. And those two songs, I was immediately like, this dude is a John Prine fan. I think I could hang with him.
Yeah.
And so that night, he had mentioned that he had a CD in his book bag if anybody wanted it. Nobody approached him except for me. And I took that CD and I wore it out in my car.
Yeah.
And I reached out to him. I got his contact info. And when I was able to start doing those rounds on my own at Belcourt, I gave him a call one time. And it was just like, they're letting me do my own round. I'd really love for you to come and do some songs. And he was like, sure. Do you mind if I bring my friend Tim Carroll along? And again, I'm just like stars in the eyes myself.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, do it, please. And so, Tim Carroll's there and Darren Bradbury, and we're going to do this round that at the time for me, I was like, this is the best writer's round I've ever been a part of, so on and so forth. And at Belcourt Taps, on that side of town, it was like, it was as if like the circus showed up because like everyone there is used to like, and even when I was doing rounds there, I was in between like, a young, attractive blonde girl and that dude with the backwards cap is like, this next song called She's My Summertime.
Yeah,
and like, it's just not, it wasn't me.
Yeah.
And
it's all those whiskey pickup truck prayer.
Yeah. They
Budweiser
realized that
and war.
They were like, I figured out Hennessy rhymes with Tennessee. I'm going to make $1 million.
And they probably did. That's the thing. They probably made $1 million.
And more on them because I didn't think of it until I just made that joke. But but after that round, hanging out with Darren more and more, he would always invite. He'd like, at the time there was that kind of co-op space, the building.
Purple Building?
It was just called the building. It was like this little performance art co-op thing kind of behind Beyond the Edge. I don't know what it is now, or even if the structure still exists. But it was over there by Beyond the Edge.
Oh, okay.
And he kept on inviting me because he kind of helped run the open mic there or was involved in the open mic there. He had his whole other crew of people over there. And I kept on turning him down again because I would sneak over to East Nashville every now and then to catch a show. Like I remember the first time I went to the 5 Spot, Kevin Kinney was doing a residency there. Mm-hmm. And on that particular night of that residency, it was like him, the band The Bluefields with Dan Baird and Warner Hodges, they showed up. And then Todd Snyder showed up and did a couple songs. And it's just like you're in the midst of that and you're just like that imposter syndrome thing that I always, that I still wrestle with like nothing else. It's all in your head of just like, I would love to be able to do this with these guys one day, but it's never going to happen.
Yep.
And so I would just avoid it just out of, again, like admiring it from afar and just being like, one day when I do get my shit together, this is where I want to be, but it's never going to happen. Anyway, months and months of hanging out with Darren, he finally it's almost like he threw down the gauntlet. And he said, look, they're letting me do an early show of my own at the 5 Spot and putting it together.
Cool.
I'm inviting a bunch of friends to do it. I think you should come and do 20 minutes,
Yeah.
whatever songs that is, whatever that allows. Do 20 minutes at the top. It'll be a chance for you just to meet some people that you should know. And I didn't know until he sent the bill that he made, like the little poster that he made. I'm going to list off who was who was on this bill. Mm-hmm. And it was to me, even at the time, it was an absolute trial by fire. It was Darren, Tim Easton, Alan Thompson, Zach Schmidt, and me. And I didn't know Zach or Alan at the time, but I damn sure have known Tim Easton even before I moved here.
Yeah, great writer.
And I was just like, this is gonna go over like a mistake. And I remember being so nervous. I got there early. At the time, Terry Rickards was bartending, and I remember the door was locked, and I knocked on the door, and he opened the door, and he's just like, "Can I help you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm here I'm playing the early show." He goes, "Oh, cool. Well, we're not open yet, so," and not even letting me in.
Yeah, yeah. And walk around the block, pal.
And I was already just like, okay, well, while I lifted here, do you mind if I just come sit in at the bar and I won't touch anything? He's like, rolls his eyes, comes over. And then he's like going back to cutting lemons and limes. And he's like, can I at least get you a drink? And I was like, yeah, could I get a Coke with no ice? And he goes, and you don't drink. Okay, great. Like, I'm already just like, this is such a mistake. This is such a mistake. This is such a mistake.
Man.
But from that show, me and Alan hit it off pretty much immediately. It turns out that Easton had seen me play at Fran's a couple of times with Darren's prior to that. And all of a sudden it was just like, the next thing I know, like, I play another gig over in East Nashville, and unbeknownst to me, like, Aaron Lee Tashton's in the crowd, and he's paying attention. And then, from Aaron comes Brian Wright. Yeah. And from there, like, those pockets of those people that I've admired from afar, all of a sudden it goes from me just being total fanboy to, we're on bills together. And I seriously have Forrest Gumped my way into the circles that I've found. But it's certainly one of those things of like finding your tribe.
Yeah.
And then it's off to the races.
Yeah.
In that artistically speaking.
Yeah.
We're all still poor, but it's still off to the races. You know what I mean?
Yeah. My first gigs in town, my very first one was with Darren Bradbury and Kate Leary at the Jackalope Brewery when it used to be on 8th.
Yeah. The small brew house.
Yeah, exactly.
Room.
And then shortly after that came Sally J. And because Sally I think she was around for a few months while Brian was still touring West Coast stuff.
Yeah.
And Sally and I always got booked together and became, friends and fans of each other's music and all that. It was super fun. Super fun back then, just feeling like, well, there's nothing to lose, so I might as well go and make a fool of myself and hope that somebody likes one of my lyrics.
Right.
Yeah.
It was always like a little bit of walking on eggshells.
Yeah, yeah.
And it still kind of is in different ways, because I feel like now enough time has passed where, and the world has kind of changed by the nature of kind of the shared impact of not only, the pandemic, but also here in Nashville, the tornado.
Yeah.
All of that, it was the same type of catalyst for change that, people of our generation will still look back at 9/11 the same way, even though that was for me growing up in the South, like that didn't affect me directly.
Yeah.
But it certainly did have an effect.
Oh, sure.
on just the outlook and stuff like that. And I kind of feel like for me, the difference is now, especially working on new music after not having anything new out for what to me is a very extended period of time, is not how I planned for it to go down.
Yeah.
It's just, it was by the nature of what took place out of our control. You know,
Yeah.
the shared impact of that tornado, trying to deal with, you know, the mental side of going through that.
Yeah.
And before we really even have a chance to process all that, all of a sudden the world shuts down.
Mm-hmm.
The entire world. And so now I feel like I'm now in just a constant state of catch up, because in that time, more people moved here, more people are doing real cool shit. And like, you're just wanting to just be like, well, you know, man, I don't want to miss out on what, you know, look at what they're doing. That's so cool. Like, look at where look at this person's perspective in their writing. Man, I wish I could write a song like that. And it's the same type of, it's a different perspective, but the same imposter syndrome that you wrestle with as the new kid in town, as even now as like somebody who's been here for a while. And that's a, if anyone ever figures out how to tackle that fully, I feel like that's the person who's going to make tons of money in, you know, therapy bills charged to musicians, you know.
Well, honestly, I don't think I'm going to make a lot of money, but I think in the past year I've gotten rid of my imposter syndrome by trial by fire, like you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, I still have it, don't get me wrong, but there's that, like, I think I used to go into every gig feeling like, well, if there's a guitar player who plays just as cool of a lick as one of mine, then I don't matter anymore. If there's a songwriter who has a better voice than me, then I don't matter anymore. If there's a guy writing lyrics better than mine, then I don't matter anymore. Then this whole thing is ruined, and I shouldn't have showed up in the first place.
Yeah, it balances out that way for me too, to a degree. I mean, there's that sense of like, I love all the things that I'm involved in. I'm involved in a lot of like the tribute shows that happen in town. And that comes from just being like just a fan, you know. Growing up, you know, it's not, you know, I was playing a lot of music myself. I started off as a drummer really young, and that's one thing, and my grandfather was a multi-instrumentalist, and my mom played a little bit of guitar, but the record collection, the biggest part of that record collection came from my dad, who doesn't play really at all. Mm-hmm. But it was just this appreciation for music that came through. So, you know, I guess the point I was trying to make was that, like, the fandom of it is just the door to, like, well, I know all the songs that Springsteen sang. I'll sing Springsteen songs. They're better than mine anyway.
Yeah.
But also, it's walking that line of, like, I enjoy doing the Springsteen stuff. I enjoy doing the Last Waltz. I enjoy being part of the Traveling Wilburys celebration every January and the Jerry Garcia birthday celebration every summer. But I don't want to be that guy who's like, somebody comes and is like, you're the Springsteen guy, or you're the Wilburys guy, or
yeah, I mean, that's the thing.
You're the Last Waltz guy.
Yeah.
And it's really...
Or just you're the tribute show guy.
You're the tribute show guy, which, again, there is part of me, though, that's like, I also know that if one of those tribute things that I was involved in became like a touring commodity, like, for instance, here in East Nashville, we have Weird Pals.
Yeah.
Right? Which is, best I can tell, like, if there's another one out there, I haven't seen it, but it's a Weird Al cover band.
And it's so much fun.
You know? And it's partially so good because we take it more seriously than we probably should. But like we've talked about, like nobody else is doing it. We could take this on the road. We could do like corporate events with this. We could make a living
Corporate events would be
doing Weird Al stuff.
Yeah, you guys would clean up doing corporate events with that.
And so, as much as I know that when I'm sitting here in town and I'm thinking about the stuff that I'm trying to write, the stuff I'm trying to record, I don't want to be the tribute show guy. There's, that's my left brain, but my right brain's going like, go do Weird Al songs and get paid.
Oh yeah, there's a difference between being the tribute show guy and be the guy who makes a living having fun with his friends playing Weird Al music to Oracle CEOs and executives.
And I think there's a little bit of, and some of that may come with shame too, because I know that there's some people who just have no interest in doing the tribute show stuff.
Yeah,
I remember as time went on, as I got more involved with them, some people would even go to social media. I'm not naming names or anything, but
I remember this.
Some people would go to social media and just talk about how some of the venues were just booking too many tribute acts. Mm-hmm. And so there were too many tribute shows. Mm-hmm. And my whole thing is like, that sounded like a criticism that came from somebody who hadn't done one. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like if you've done one in the moment and all of that, it just seems like a really cool gig. You don't think about the fact that you're paying tribute or homage to somebody else. You're not that you're doing somebody else's songs.
Sure.
But there is that line that I walk between, like, I'm a serious songwriter, God damn it. But at the same time, like, I absolutely love doing all of that other stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's music still, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's been a great opportunity to play with people that I don't think I would have gotten to play with otherwise.
Sure.
Like this last Wilbury show, like, I have no business being on stage with John Oates, but I did it.
Yeah.
I have absolutely no business with that. I have no business singing background vocals for Raul Malo. With his voice, he doesn't need my help, but I got to do it.
Yeah, that's cool.
And all of that kind of came from, like, just learning some Tom Petty songs or something. It's
absolutely.
It's a cool thing, But that's kind of the left and right brain, and somewhere right down the middle in the ridge is kind of where the imposter syndrome thing lurks in the shadows. So if you get over to one side too much, you get all in your head about, like, yeah, you're a songwriter, but the songs you're writing right now are crap. Or it's like, oh, you thought you were a songwriter, but look at all these tribute shows you have on your calendar right now. Yeah. It's like, what are you going to do next? Work for a cruise line? No offense to anybody who works for a cruise line, by the way.
Man,
I'm just saying.
You just upset our highest demographic.
No, I'm sure.
Just people on cruise ships.
No, but I'm just saying, though, like, it's...
No, I get you. I get you. The imposter syndrome thing for me, it really calmed down when I realized that, or when I started to kind of see that people were appreciating my music and my songwriting and stuff like that, even when there was that singer on the same show that you would listen to sing the phone book, even when there was, all these elements that were so much bigger than anything I can do, that there was still one person in the audience who was really touched, really moved.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, it doesn't happen every time. But, like, I don't know. I think the trial by fire of playing all the time lately has kind of relaxed that paranoid part of my brain that's like, God, you don't belong to be here and everybody thinks you suck and blah, like just walk out. Don't talk to anybody. Don't look them in the eyes. Just run.
I do try and remind myself that I think for me, though I struggle with it, the things that I try to remind myself of is, first of all, people still ask me to play.
That's a pretty good one.
Which is just like, people will say, I'm booking the show. Would you get on the bill? And so that feels good.
It's the ultimate compliment, really. Like when somebody's putting together their own show and they can shoot for the moon, if you're the first guy they think of, that's huge. Or even the third guy they think of. That's 100%. Incredible.
Yeah, and it always feels good to be asked,
Yeah.
And then also just that whole thing of, like, I know that for some people where I am and the rung that I'm on, that, like, for instance, like, it becomes a running joke sometimes about, like, every year around April or May or so. You're just watching your email for the Americana Fest rejection letter, which again, I realize that there's high demand and
But
all
are
that
you
type of stuff.
Americana?
I get lumped in there a good bit, I think.
I can see both sides of it.
Well, here's the thing. I might have done it to myself. Well, first of all, I know some people just some people shiver at the concept of being categorized as Americana. I don't. It doesn't. If you gotta call it something,
Yeah.
and that's in the case of kind of elder statesmen of country music that have fallen into the Americana genre, playing smaller rooms, but they had bigger hits in the 90s and stuff. I would rather you call it Americana than call them like a has-been or something, or a one-hit wonder or whatever. Because
Is that the option? I'm not. I don't know if I'm following here.
Well, what I'm saying is, for instance, okay, you have somebody like
Not somebody. Let's talk about your music. Let's talk about your music. I think it's. I mean,
are you saying why would I be called Americana?
Well, I can see, like I'm saying, I can see both sides of it. I can see how you might fall under that umbrella a little bit, but you're also kind of straight down the middle rock and roll.
Yeah,
above anything.
I mean, that's how I hear it.
Yeah,
that's how I hear it. But also, I'm also aware, kind of in hindsight as well, that my first record, I put a banjo on a track, and there's a few tracks with fiddle on it.
Okay.
So there's elements of.
What was that record called?
Real Bad News.
Okay. I was thinking Bad News Bears, but I knew that was not right.
Should have been what I called it.
Yeah.
But, so Real Bad News, I the song Ginsberg has banjo on it.
Yeah.
A couple of the songs, I had a friend of mine, Haley Dryce, play fiddle on it. So it's got and also most of those songs, because at that time I was playing almost always solo acoustic, it was a more acoustic driven album. They might be rock songs.
Sure.
And I did put some electric guitars on there, but it was more folk driven, I would say. When we did Lifers, I had more options sonically because we asked Lars Jametz if he wanted to play guitar on the record, and
I don't think I realized he played.
And he
guitar
said,
on that record.
and he said yes. And of course, he comes in there, and everything he does sounds straight up rock and roll.
Yeah, yeah.
And then on top of that too, that adds more to the mix as far as that rock thing. There were no fiddles on that record, and there's no fiddles on the new one either.
Yeah,
that we're working on. But I think overall, because it's songwriter driven as well.
Okay.
I think that's another thing that kind of puts it in the court of Americana, because that's a thing that if there's more than just verse, chorus, two choruses, and you're out, there's a lot of words in your song.
Yeah.
And so, and also my songs would not cut the 3-minute mark that you'd have to have on standard rock or country radio right now.
Sure.
So all of that combined.
Okay.
Right?
Fair enough.
And then throw in there, even though this should not matter, but I would say from a marketing standpoint, I don't have the looks of a new Bruce Springsteen. You know what I mean? I don't have the marketing capability of a new Bruce Springsteen. Not saying that's what I'm aiming for.
Yeah.
But it's that type of thing where I think as a total package, I might not be able to sell myself as an artist.
That's interesting.
To somebody who's fishing for a new rock act.
Okay.
But I can certainly sell myself as a singer-songwriter.
Oh, of course.
And I can play that part.
That's interesting. It never really occurred to me that if you're doing serious songwriting, there's kind of a chasm of Americana that you inevitably could fall into.
Absolutely. I mean, I think there's so many artists that I could name that to me are rock and roll artists.
Yeah.
You know, that are in our circle.
Sure.
Here in Nashville and not, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like Aaron Lee Tashian. Aaron Lee Tashian to me is a rock and roll star. He should be the biggest rock and roll star on the planet. Nobody does it better than him.
Yeah.
His songs are incredible. His guitar playing almost unmatched.
Yeah.
And just he's got the style, he's got the look, he's got the moves. He in my opinion is the total package. Brian Wright should be a rock star.
Yeah.
He's got the looks, he's got the moves, he's got the playing, he's got the songs, he's got the hair, he's got the total package. Andrew Leahy
Yeah.
should be a rock and roll star. Have you seen the pants that he wears on stage?
I have.
And the guitar riffs that he plays.
Yeah.
His hair whipping in the wind.
And that white Les Paul.
And
it
the
looks
white
pretty
Les Paul, his foot up on the bass drum riser,
Yeah.
just looking like $1 million,
Yeah.
playing songs that I think are worthy of being sung by an arena full of people.
Yeah, yeah.
These are the people that I look at and go, these guys should be rock stars. Every single one of them
Yeah.
is playing shows during Americana Fest.
I mean, that's
See what I'm saying?
fair. Absolutely, absolutely.
So it's like a subgenre. It's become a catch-all,
yeah.
but it could also be somewhat. You could consider it a subgenre of all the main categories.
Yeah.
Americana is a subgenre of country. Americana is a subgenre of rock. Americana is a subgenre of folk. It all just kind of fits well.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's nothing to wear as a stigma. You
No,
know?
no. I don't feel that way either.
Yeah. But when somebody says like you're Americana, which nobody ever says that to me.
Okay.
But I feel at home during Americana Fest week because for that 1 week, I'm recognized by people who don't live here.
Oh, that's cool.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which I think goes for a lot of folks in the neighborhood. There's people who travel here for Americana Fest who are wanting to know where they can see Andrew, where they can see
Sure.
Aaron, and wherever they're going to be, whatever else is happening,
Yeah.
that's where you want to go.
Yeah.
And so I think that's how it kind of fits, at least for me, with Americana.
That's cool. The last few times I've seen Aaron Lee, it's been unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean yeah. Not to mention, with every album, it's just another step in this direction of like, just there's one way of pushing boundaries, and then there's just tearing down the wall.
Cool.
And I feel like he's tearing down the wall. Behind the wall, he's ripping out the insulation.
Yeah.
And you're seeing sunshine on the other side. Every time he puts out a new record, it's something fresh and new and different and powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's, again, coming back to what we were talking about with what can lead to imposter syndrome, but what I try and do instead is look at it and go like, that makes me want to write a better song.
Oh, sure.
You know?
The last couple times I've seen Brian Wright play, he has this new song. I don't know if it's a new song, but it was new to me. The Straits of Gibraltar song. Every time I hear him play that song, I'm just like, Jesus Christ! Like, what? How do you do that? How do you? Where do the mechanics of that come from?
I really feel like there are certain people in our circle who, as I said, if you want to call them torchbearers, that by pushing themselves, they're pushing everybody else forward with them.
Sure.
And I think, but honestly, I think Brian Wright, Sally J,
Oh yeah.
all of those folks, they have this unspoken ability to take everything that they're thinking of on whatever level that it comes to them. And I don't know how some of the songs that Brian has put out have come to be, even though I've worked on some of those songs with him.
Yeah.
I can't, the process is still a mystery to me. It really is. It used to be when I was working off of Nolensville Pike in the South Side.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian lives in the Donaldson area. And when he was working on the Sneak Ups record, the Lapse of Luxury album, I'd be at work. I get off at 10. Sometime between 9 o'clock and 10, if he was out in the shed working, he would literally send me a picture on my on text of the bat signal.
Yeah.
And that would be like my cue of like, we're working tonight, come over.
Yeah.
And the really exciting nights of working with him were the nights where he would show me, like, I did this. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's going to be anything.
Yeah.
But here's what I came up with. And he'll play me back just the rough thing that he came up with. And it's jaw-dropping. The best example of this that I can give, are you familiar with the song Heavy Metal Shed Kids?
I knew that's where you were going. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I saw the stack of papers that became that song.
A slight feather in my cap is one of those nights he gave me the bat signal.
Yeah.
I went over and he's like, I came up with this. I don't know what it is. And he played me the rough of Heavy Metal Shed Kids, as it is.
Yep.
And my jaw was on the floor.
Yeah.
And my first thing that I said, tell me that that's going to be on the record. And he was very, very hesitant. He like to the point where even as we were working on other stuff for the record, and he was already looking at sequencing and stuff. At one point, he sent me a mock-up sequencing of what the record might be.
Yeah.
And I said, "Where's Heavy Metal Shed Kids?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Man, that doesn't really fit with anything else on this record." And I was like, "That's in all the more reason why it should be there."
Yeah, it kind of became the anchor of the record. It kind of became the thing that made this record really, I don't want to say it made it really matter, but it was from a different place that was a little more.
Well, the proof was in the pudding too. Remember when he put he had the Sneak Ups lineup that was basically like the big band lineup, and it was like me, Sally, and Kristen England's on BGVs. You had Robbie Crowell on bass, Matty
Thayer?
Apples on drums.
Yeah.
Thayer was up there for a bit. Jimmy Matt Rowland was on keys.
Jesus.
Wade Kofer on guitar with Brian.
Yeah.
So it was like a big super group version of the Sneak Ups, and he did a residency at the 5 Spot. And I remember the first week of that residency was the first time he had ever played Heavy Metal Shed Kids out, and that came up in the set. And I remember when it started, like up until that point, it had been hooting and hollering. It was all the rock and roll that you'd expect from a Brian Wright show, and then just like right in the thick of it, he dropped Heavy Metal Shed Kids on him. And by the time the song got to that last verse about his friend being shot by the cop, and all of that, the fact that even from on stage, first of all, like there was this emotion that came over, like I cried. But on top of that, in the moment, looking out into that crowd and hearing, you could have heard a pin drop. And that's when I knew, just as a third party, knowing that song, I knew then, like, if ever there was an argument that song had to be on the record, the experience of how that song affected that bar that night, I was like, there's no argument anymore.
Yeah, and it continues to be that song, even as he writes new music, even as that. Yeah, it continues to be the song that people want to hear from him.
I've never met a Brian Wright song I didn't like.
Yeah, it's it's hard to argue with.
But I feel like I'm talking about all my friends' music. I know I'm not really talking much about mine, but it's a lot easier to do. It's a lot easier to do because there's there's a lot of good friends out there doing good stuff.
Yeah.
Present company included.
Thank you very much. Where is the, you're recording at some studio right now. Where is that?
Cash Cabin.
Where is it?
It's Johnny Cash's cabin
Oh,
on
shit,
his
really?
property. Yeah, it's in Hendersonville.
Man, just the pictures of it. It looks far away.
Yeah, well,
It's frozen in time, kind of.
the story is that the cabin was built as a place, somewhere off in the far distance of where the Cash property is in Hendersonville is where the actual house was that burned down, like Johnny Cash's house that burned down. And he had built that cabin basically on the other side of the property. It was just a getaway. And all it was just like a single room cabin with a bathroom, and that was pretty much it. When Johnny passed, the land was kind of, if I remember how it was told to me, land was kind of split between the three kids. John Carter bought that part of the land from his sisters and then built out the studio from there.
Cool.
And all I knew about it up until the point where I went there was that Todd Snyder had done an album there, Cash Cabin Sessions Volume 3.
Yep.
Friend of mine, Caleb Cottle, had done several records there. Cool.
And who's the band on this new one?
It's the Lifers. It's the guys that I've been playing with for the better part of a decade now.
Okay, so
Andrew Leahy, Corey Nichols on bass, yep. Ron Schultz on drums. And then we were lucky enough, for a long time, Sean Quinn was playing with me. Sean has since moved to different parts of the country, but it just so happened that he was here for a little bit, and we got him in there for a couple of days. So Sean's on the record, so he's there. We did work with Billy Harvey for a little while, and Billy was able to do a song on the record with us. So anyone who's kind of been technically part of the Lifers at any given point is on the record. But the core four, me, Andrew, Corey, Ron, that's
cool.
That was kind of what I wanted to go into doing this. Like, for as long as we played together as a live unit, there's no real documentation outside of the. We did like a tornado benefit single for the tornadoes in Kentucky a few years ago.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
We did a cover of Government Cheese's "Coming Back to Bowling Green and Marry Me" with Tommy Womack.
Yeah.
That's the only recorded song with the Lifers that's out.
Who was the band on Lifers then?
With the exception of Laura Jametz on guitar and Aaron Lee Tashin on one song, the rest of it was pretty much me.
Really?
I overdubbed everything on Real Bad News and that.
Damn.
I think Sean Quinn played on one of the songs on Lifers as well. But
I didn't know.
For the most part, Real Bad News and Lifers was kind of a two-man project between me and Josh Morris, who produced both of those records.
Wow, dude.
And so
you played the drums and everything?
Yeah. We
damn.
Borrowed a drum set from my roommate for the first record. He went in there as kind of like my drum tech. We did like a day of drums, and then when we did Lifers, same type of thing. I just borrowed. Josh had a drum set in his basement, and so we just used that.
So you're Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, all the way up to the blindness too.
Yeah.
So there you go.
As it came out of my mouth, I had the same thought. I wasn't going to say it though.
So my new album's called Talking Book, and I'll take the compliment, but I'm certainly no Stevie Wonder.
I mean, none of us are, but that's pretty wild, man. Like
it was, yeah. Well, it was all a matter of. First of all, it was all a matter of economics, but
yeah, sure.
But also just one of those things of like when I did that, I didn't have any inclination that anyone was going to hear that. The whole idea of doing the first album, Real Bad News, was just to have CDs to sell when I played a round or played a showcase show or something. Of
course. I mean, I'm thinking back to those drums on Lifers, and I mean, they're convincing. Like I don't know. I couldn't.
Well, I didn't cheat them, Like I did play.
You couldn't. There's no. You could offer me $1 million and be like, play drums on your own record. I cannot play drums. I don't understand how anybody plays drums. Never mind play drums artfully.
Well, drums were my first instrument.
Really? Okay, you said that before.
I got my first drum set when I was like 6 years old.
Okay.
And then about the time that I was in middle school, I basically just demolished that drum set because I grew out of it, but I didn't have anything else. So I started playing on like a futon and a pot and pan type situation. And then the story goes that around the time that I was in middle school, my family started going to a Pentecostal church in Kennesaw, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And
Is that the one where they speak in tongues?
that happened, yeah.
Okay.
It was no snakes, but yeah,
All
we
right.
did speak in tongues and stuff. Well, I never spoke in tongues, but anyway, I just remember that I always got a kick out of the fact that there was a drum set in the sanctuary. My mom grew up Baptist, and in Baptist churches it's just piano and organ, nothing else.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, they got drums in this place.
Yeah.
And Pentecostal services can also get real revved up, and I was like, man, this is kind of like, in the back of my head, I was like, it's kind of like punk rock. Turned out there was this one Sunday, like, I was still convinced, even though I was playing on pots and pans and stuff, I still considered myself a drummer. My dad, God bless him, he was just like, I think he didn't want me to be embarrassed, but he just kind of played along. But when I tell people I was a drummer, because he's just like, you don't have a drum set, you don't play drums.
Yeah.
Well, there was this one night at the church where the drummer didn't show. And they were just like, well, I guess we can just do it without drums. And I just piped, I was like, I can play drums. And my dad, again, was just like, please don't do this. Please don't let him do this. Like,
Yeah.
he thinks he can play drums. And again, I know it was coming from a place of love because he didn't want me to be embarrassed or anything like that. And I got behind the drum set, and I made my dad a believer out of me because I just did it.
Hell yeah.
And I started taking drum lessons with that drummer who didn't show up. And just took back to it, got a drum set. I was, played drums all through high school and stuff. So it really was like, when it came time to do the drums on the record, like, I brought my roommate who was a drummer along, basically as to, like, I had it in my head of, like, I want to try and do this myself because I feel like that would be a cool thing to do. If it sucks, you can hop in.
Cool.
And we did, like, the first two songs. Like, the first song I did drums to was Waitressing Sucks. The second one was Major Key. And by the time we got done with Major Key and listened back, he was just like, no, man, I think you got it. And so he just became my drum tech. He was like, why don't we try this snare drum out on this one? Or,
Yeah. That's a bold move, man.
It was very fun. So it was one of those things where I was like, if I ever needed to do records again like that, I could.
Yeah.
But this was just one of those things where after all this time, I just felt like it'd been so long, and I kind of wanted to do something fresh. And I just also knew that I wanted some sort of documentation. Like, I'm always worried that the last gig I play is the last gig I'm going to play. The last time I get to play with these guys is the last time I'm going to play with these guys. And the fact that nothing existed to show that even for this small little universe that we have in East Nashville, that we as a band did something.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted that for selfish reasons, just so I could hear it. And so I kind of told them, like, I want to do this one with the band.
And good things come from collaboration.
It's been cool because we've kind of been self-producing it too.
Yeah.
The engineer at Cash Cab and Trey Call, he's kind of come on as co-producer. He pipes in with some ideas here and there, but for the most part, a lot of what we've been doing has come from input from Andrew, Corey, Ron.
Oh,
myself.
for sure, right?
And he's just kind of like keeping us on track with that.
Yeah.
Trey's an awesome dude. The fact that we've really collaborated and really kind of honed in on, we aren't just going there and bashing it out the way that we do it live. We've taken the opportunity to take the tools of the studio and really try and expand the sonic landscape of what we do on stage, which is how it should be. But I just never thought that I'd get the opportunity to do that. Like, it's been a real privilege to do that, and to again, kind of going into the imposter syndrome thing. Like, I walked out of the studio this weekend because we've been doing it kind of piecemeal.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those things of, like, kind of what we did this weekend. I was like, man, for as much as I worry when I'm at my 9-to-5 job that I'm just always going to be at my 9-to-5 job, coming out of that studio this past weekend, I was like, I can still do it. I can do this.
Absolutely.
And I'm okay at doing this. And furthermore, everyone keeps telling me that I should be doing this. So I don't know why I'm fighting myself on it as much, but it's really exciting. And it's been kind of the more we've gone into it, obviously we've got to finish the record. We've got to do some sort of crowdfunding to help finish all of that. But we're getting all the parts in play, and it's just getting harder and harder to keep it all a secret. Like, we're just like, let's just tell everybody now. But it's going to be worth it in the end.
Well, the benefit of telling everybody now is starting to, build anticipation. You start doing the crowdfunding. People are already keyed up. People are ready,
All 10 of my fans are just waiting on the edge of their seats.
Can't wait. Can't wait.
And 2 of those fans are my parents, so...
Hey.
Got
to take them where you can get them.
And the other 2 are my brothers, so that leaves... Okay, so 6 people are on the edge of their seat.
I'm one of those.
Okay, so 5.
Oh, shit.
One of them's Joe Wolf, so that's 4.
All right.
We could probably narrow it down to the rest of the 4. I'm sure Aaron Lee Tashin would like to listen to it, so that leaves 3.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So it's exciting.
It's very cool.
It's very exciting. It's been... the Cash Cabin has been... I was really worried it would be a place where, like, just the music fan in me, I'd be fanboying out over all the different stuff that's in there.
Yeah.
But they really do a great job in that place, and Trey does a great job of making that space a place that is very comfortable work environment, very...
Yeah.
It just grows inspiration. And... it's just been a really positive experience so far.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
We're doing my new record here. There's a guitar amp in my bedroom right now, pointing at a laundry basket for, sound absorption.
Dude, make a record how you have to make a record.
Oh, man.
I'm a big proponent of that. Like, if we didn't have the opportunity to do this at Cash Cabin, some of my favorite records are low fidelity records. The first 10 years of Guided by Voices, are all 4-track recordings.
Sure.
Steve Albini type stuff,
Yeah. Albini's genius.
It doesn't have to all sound like, it doesn't have to all be Todd Rundgren, but I love me some Todd Rundgren. So if you can do the Todd Rundgren thing, great. But if you have to do it at home, however you want to do it, if the songs are good, and it's coming from a place that's real, like, that's going to come through on whatever format you do it on.
Sure.
Yeah,
the funny thing about this house is it's pretty much just a recording studio with a bed in it. Like, all the walls have mass-loaded vinyl behind them.
Yeah.
Like, this place.
I mean, that's how these things are built now.
Yeah, I should rent an apartment and live there.
Well.
And then this could just be the podcast studio.
I remember Audrey and I went to go see Counting Crows last year.
Okay.
And it was right around the time Robbie Robertson passed away.
Oh, I think I was at that show too.
The one where Dashboard Confessional opened?
Yes.
Okay.
I was at that show too.
So he told that story about how right about the time that they were signed, and I guess they were going to work with T-Bone Burnett on August and everything after. Like, he got the opportunity to meet Robbie Robertson, and he asked him where they were recording, and they said they were scoping some studios or what have you. Mm-hmm. And Robbie basically said, no, just find a house, live together, and do it that way.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you got a house that's comfortable for you, and like you feel comfortable there to do what you need to do, yeah, man. Like, in some ways, the cabin is kind of house-ish.
Oh, for sure.
Because we're setting, like Ron's drums are literally in a kitchen.
Love that.
Yeah. It's just that they've got the big room and an engineering room, right? Where the garage would be, I guess. But yeah, man, I think home recordings are awesome. So,
yeah. My major malfunction is I can't do anything on normal people hours. So like right now, I don't know what time it is, but right now this is my afternoon. I'm getting my afternoon slump where I'll be tired until 11:30, and then I come to life until 5 a.m.
All right. And you chose to take this time to talk to me?
Yes, that's what I did.
You could have been so much more productive today, Chris. You really could have.
The idea of anytime I talk to a studio and they're like, yeah, it's like it's $1,000 for a day, and a day starts at 10 a.m. and it goes to like 4 or 5 p.m. And it's like, you think I'm going to be able to be creative at 10 a.m.? Like, ugh, gross.
I will say though, you'd be surprised when you're really kind of. I'm not one to think about it in the way of like, if you think about studio time as like being like a work shift.
Oh, exactly. You're on the job. You got to get it done.
Right, but I don't think you necessarily have to think that way. Like, I kind of feel like if you look at it less like a 9-to-5er, right, and you treat the opportunity of being in the studio as if it were a gig.
Okay.
You go into the gig mindset, You're supposed to be there at 10.
Yeah.
That's load in. You're setting your levels. That's sound check.
Sure.
Once all that's done, man, let's play. And then playing in the midst of it, because not only in a live setting, you play the song and then you're off to the next song. In this particular setting,
you get a second chance, which is
second,
nice.
third, fourth, fifth, 10th, however many. You can take the 5th chance and the 6th chance and turn it into the 8th chance because it's a comp.
Yeah.
And it turns out to be the best one you got.
Yeah.
And so you get an opportunity to basically, it's like somewhere between like a real gig and fantasy football, because you're beginning to you're like, I took this part from this thing and I flew it into this thing, and now the song sounds better.
Yeah.
I think if you begin to look at it as a 9-to-5er, that's when it feels like it's a monotonous thing of like you're trying to beat the clock. You're trying to, And the other thing too is just to be in there with folks that are like, that motivate you and you're motivating them and everybody's on it and and it's a really cool thing, you know. So never count it out.
For the record, if anyone ever asks me to play a gig at 10 a.m., I'll say no.
Even if that gig was okay. So hypothetical, you're saying if they said, Chris, we love what you do. We want you to do it. It's at 10 a.m., but it's on the main stage
At where?
Of New Orleans Jazz Festival. And going on right after you, so it's kind of a built-in crowd, because going on right after you at 12 o'clock is Trombone Shorty. You're going to tell me that you wouldn't take that opportunity to play for that crowd?
I don't know if my fans are up at 10 a.m. See, I think the people who like my music are like me. They're going to be like, 10 a.m.? Dude, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to miss your set.
So you don't play. So you don't play for them. You play for the guy who was there for Trombone Shorty, but got there early to get a good spot, and now he's stuck there.
Yeah, now he's stuck there with me.
And you got him.
Okay.
And now you just got to win him over.
Okay.
That's the trick.
All right.
Play for the people that did not come to see you. That's the fun part.
Okay.
That's the fun part for me. Is just like, it's kind of it.
All right.
Tying
like
it
this.
into the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
You're telling yourself you don't belong here. Oh, prove to that one guy who's there, like, you do belong here. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
In the case of doing that at the 5 spot, you get to say, no, this is my house.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
let's talk about Special Bud. That has become such a thing. And
okay.
I don't know if you really realize that. So last year, it was my 40th birthday.
Yeah.
And we were doing the show, and I, every week I email Todd the lineup. And I forget what I wrote for you. I think it was something like extremely special guest. It was something long.
Yeah.
Where it was like, he's trying to put it on a flyer and you can't read it. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, Todd was like, less words is better.
Todd is a master of that. And he shortened it to Special Bud.
Yeah.
And you were the very first Special Bud, which has become a truly special thing.
That I did not know.
At Tight 5.
Cool.
Because as soon as I saw it on the flyer, I was like, that's really cool. Because there was this segment in the show that we started trying to do, like, I think it was like 6 months in. Mm-hmm. And Phil's girlfriend, Alex, had nicknamed it the newbie set, which I thought that was cute and catchy.
Right.
But as I saw it on the flyer, it was like, oh, people could take, like the artist could take it the wrong way.
Sure.
You know, that feels a little bit like, if you're in the know, if you're part of this crowd, you know it's not like a dig.
Yeah.
But if you're someone who's just coming into the fray at the 5 spot, and then you see your name next to newbie set, it could feel like, oh man, they're dissing me before I even get on stage.
Well, you know, yeah, I guess I could kind of see that. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel that's still extremely overly sensitive, but yeah,
I
I
mean,
get that, you know.
Speaking of overly sensitive, I've never had so many people be mad at me in such a short span of time. Yeah, like
Why,
what?
but running the show?
Yeah, running the show. Somebody's mad every week. It is what it is. But Special Bud led to, I said, okay, so we're going to have, and it's important to single out the people who have been a part of our scene for a long time, that we're inviting them to play these 3 songs, but it's not like they're new to the community. They're not new to the scene. Like, these are our favorites. And that's what Special Bud has become reserved for, is like the people who it's like, oh, we have some space this week. Why wouldn't we have this awesome person from the community come in and play a few songs for us?
Yeah, I mean, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I think I did not know that was, I didn't know that I was the first.
You were the first. And then we went back in and said, okay, so what are we going to call this when it is somebody new? And we tweaked for a while and came out with Spotlight Set.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's become a central part of the show. And you were kind of the kind of banner guy that made us do it.
Well, that makes me feel pretty special.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I wish I'd done better that night then. I think I did a pretty good job embarrassing you that evening, but
It was pretty funny. You
But-
invited me on stage just to kick me off. It was pretty great.
it's pretty great. Yeah. Well, I don't think I ever told you what I think I might have told you this, but I want it for posterity, so I'll tell it so it's on this
Let's hear it.
podcast. I always felt like the thing I really wanted to do. I had seen this thing. There was an Adult Swim show called Everything Is Terrible, where they would like scour VHSs and like public access and find like these real gems of like something that was real, that was awful, and then just like put it together in like a 30-minute show that would air on Adult Swim.
Okay.
And the 2 guys that did this, for reasons that I still can't comprehend, they just started collecting VHS copies of Jerry Maguire. Like anytime they would go out anywhere, like as VHS kind of waned,
Yeah.
they would just go out to wherever you could find like used VHS tapes and stuff, and if there was a copy of Jerry Maguire, they'd buy it. To the point where they started like, building this collection of literally thousands and thousands of copies of Jerry Maguire.
Okay.
And then they did a pop-up store
Oh,
called the Jerry Maguire Video Store.
a fetish property, I'm sure.
And it was just like straight up, like you walked in, it was just like rows and rows, like a Blockbuster Video, but the only thing they had was Jerry Maguire. And I had this great idea that what I wanted to do for you as like a Christmas present, but it backfired because it shocked me on this. I know that you hate Eve 6.
I really do.
For you kids out there, Eve 6 was a band in the 90s.
If you could call it that.
It was more than two.
I mean, they had more hits than I do.
It was more than 2 people, and they made music. So I just had this. So it's been an ongoing gag with me and Frasco. Like I invited him up to karaoke one time, telling him we were going to sing "Hey Jealousy," and they queued up Eve 6 instead. So I decided
That was the most fun I've ever had at D's, by the way.
Well, I remember I had this idea, and I told my then girlfriend Adrian that what I wanted to do for you for Christmas, I was going to start scouring places like McKay's and Grimey's and The Great Escape, and any time that I saw a used copy of the first Eve 6 album, whether it be $2, $3, whatever, I'd buy it. Mm-hmm. And I'd just start amassing them. And then one year for your birthday or for Christmas, I'd be able to give you like a full on like a moving box size present, like very nicely gift wrapped, bow on top, and you'd open it up and it'd be like a 20-pound box of like 400 copies of the first Eve 6 album. And you'd just be I'd be like, happy birthday. And, you'd just be stuck with that. And you'd have to take it with you because Todd wouldn't let you keep it at the 5 spot.
My blood is boiling just hearing
I know.
this.
It's pretty awesome.
Oh, my God. That song, I don't know. It's not even that bad. There's just, I don't know. I think I was just, when that song came out, I was already such like a Counting Crows nerd that his lyrics, the unsmooth and kind of arbitrariness of his lyrics just infuriated me.
Well, by the way, I feel like the way you said you were such a Counting Crows fan, it sounded like you said Accounting Crows, which to me feels like...
Did I do bad?
No, I'm just saying like there should be some sort of accounting firm.
Yes, the
with the last name
Crows.
Crow, like I'm Brad Crow. This is my brother Tyler Crow. We're both accountants. We're Accounting Crows.
Okay, this is pretty good. This is going to be a clip.
We're the people that help do your taxes around here. Anyway,
this is what we need to do. We need to do funny wordplay podcasts.
No, we don't.
No,
we don't need to do that.
Are you sure?
It makes it.
Maybe we could do a skit about Accounting Crows.
No, actually, some of that should go to Darren. And there was a guy who was here for just a little bit named James Tomberlin. I don't know if you ever got to meet him.
I don't know if I know him.
James Tomberlin was another guy who's like, when it came to song, he was a young guy. He was like 21.
Okay.
Lived with Darren for like a hot second, then got like a full ride scholarship to law school and did the smart thing and left. But in that time, he wrote some incredible songs. They went out to Franz or Twin Kegs or somewhere one night for karaoke, and they formed a one-night only cover band called Recounting Crows.
Ooh, that's pretty clever.
So they were like, we recount this song, and then they just sang Mr. Jones like 3 times in a row.
Oh man, anybody who can hit that high note has my respect.
Jones!
I can't hit that high note.
I just did it. I'll do
You
it all
did,
night.
yeah. Sounded like it was the right key too, if I'm not mistaken.
Perfect pitch, baby.
Do you have it?
Yeah.
You bastard. Oh, that's the first swear on this podcast. We've been keeping it clean tonight.
I think I said shit once. Well, twice now, but
twice
still.
now. Excellent.
Who's counting? Luke, are you counting the curses on this one? Okay, thank you.
He's our Accounting Crow.
Thank you very much. And you're the one who's going to pay the FCC when this airs, right? Okay, cool.
I would love to get a letter from the FCC, just like, we've been watching this podcast of yours. We're not pleased.
So we just send them back the cease and desist, just signed like an autograph, like to Brad from the FCC.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
On your last episode, there was 21 fucks. We are not happy.
21 Fuck sounds like a terrible indie rock band.
Or a really good porno.
And it's like, oh Jesus, Frasco, please.
I think that's the place to wrap it up, John.
Are we done?
I think so.
Okay, well.
21 fucks. I think that's the end.
On behalf of everyone in this room, I'd like to apologize for Chris Frasco for this joke that he just made.
Great about it.
Yeah, like.
And once I got my laugh, going out on a high note.
Did anyone laugh?
I feel like they did.
Luke, were you counting the laughs on that one?
I was laughing more at your joke.
Okay, thank you.
Damn it!
Thank you. Thank you,
It's an
Luke.
even better reason to wrap it up, John.
The check's in the mail, Luke. Thank you very much.
Good night, everybody.
When a light like that goes out, you cast a cruel shadow on all you got to live without. When a light like that goes out. When a light like that goes out, it fades without a flicker. The silence seems much thicker when a light like that goes out. I can see just fine most of the time. Loneliness can strike me blind to the beauty that can only hide behind your doubt. When a light like that goes out, when a light like that goes out, the sun sets without warning, seems darker the next morning. When a light like that goes out, when a light like that goes out, time stops without trying. You won't see me crying when a light like that goes out. I can see just fine most of the time, but loneliness can strike you blind to the beauty that can only hide behind your doubt. When a light like that goes out, I can see just fine most of the time. Loneliness can strike me blind to the beauty I can only find behind your doubt. When a light like that goes out, you sing your song and hope to listen, but you know something's missing. When a light like that goes out, when a light like that goes out.